see, but right now it is somewhat concealed. You cannot see it. There is where it's supposed to be. This morning we saw it. There it was at 7 o'clock this morning. Second event in 2 weeks in Japan, and the last stop was Suzuka, where we had some of our very best racing. Take a look at the highlights. All tidy from Martin Rump in pole position. Tanart Sathyanthirikul on the outside of the front row. Look to challenge. Darrell O'Young always looked to challenge. Look for the green flashes on his Mercedes. No chance to get into second place. A chance to go into the lead, but you're on the outside line. You're always going to run out. And in fact, Sathyanthirikul did very well indeed to keep it within the confines of the circuit. The momentum went. The ARN Porsche starting to make moves, moving up the order, but had a lot of company. The company was in front of him this time. It was the leading car in the AM class. Ben Porter really flying. And then, unfortunately for Jeffrey Lee, the grass was wet, didn't want to be on it in the first place, lost a lot of time in his Craft Bamboo Racing Mercedes. The race came to the 911 crew when the number 12 Audi was had already made a pit stop, but not one for a normal pit stop because it had a puncture, put it out of the top 10. Had to fight its way back. This was a battle that just kept on giving. It was the class-leading battle in GT4. First of all, first part of the race, it was a nice, comfortable start for Takayuki Kinoshita, but the second half of the race, as Kinoshita watched on, it was very tough indeed. Too tough as Jean-Marc Merlin hit Tsunaka Jukuchu. The BMW spun around. Damage to both cars, not immediately apparent, but where the contact of Mercedes on BMW occurred, so the puncture occurred as well. You don't have to be Sherlock Holmes to work out why. Bodywork damage. Tyre being rubbed by bodywork on the Singer Plan B Racing Audi. So nobody, though, could catch Philippe Hamprecht. A second win this season for the 911 Porsche in the background. Second and third, look how close it is. Brilliant getaway by Alessio Picariello in the 88 Mercedes. Pushed very hard by Marco Holzer. Look for him trying to make a move in the 918 Porsche from Panther AAS Motorsport into the first corner. He knew he was on the outside line. And then there was a squeeze over fourth or fifth place. Two cars going off. And then there's a little bit of a push there. Chris van der Drift rubbing the tail of the Lamborghini at a point where it was very easy to go for a spin. Schandorf held on, but suddenly had Melvin Moe all over his tail. 911, yesterday's winner, handed over to Tanart Sathyanthirikul. Philippe Hamprecht, first of the front runners to make a pit stop. And the car that didn't get as far as a pit stop was the 60 Porsche, spun around there, given a clip, unfortunately, by the car that finished third yesterday, and that was Yuta Kamamura. Car he shares with Hiroaki Nagai. They would get a penalty for that as well. Jeffrey Lee having to hang on at the front of the field, being pushed very hard and passed by the Hub Auto Corsa Ferrari, but of course, as you can see, didn't manage to turn into the corner, gained an advantage by running off the track, had to hand it back, but at this point didn't have enough momentum. The two Porsches that were third and fourth said thank you very much, accelerated it, passed it on the start-finish straight, and that left Vutikon Fuvasak in the 918 Porsche to push very, very hard indeed, but Jeffrey Lee defended the line just when it looked as though the door might be left open. He came across absolutely legitimate to do just that, with Alessio Picariello super nervous in the pit lane, had no reason to stay nervous for any longer because the checkered flag was being waved and it came down. They won this duo in the opening race of the season and they won all over again, and look at the joy in Parc Fermé. Fabulous racing action from Suzuka. Plenty of tradition here on the grid at Fuji Speedway with the local drummers. Last night we had them again and we had a party. It was absolutely fantastic. There was tuna carving. Everything dictated the fact that we were here for the second week running in Japan. But Steve Dawson caught up with the man who makes it all happen, the CEO and founder of the Stefan Rattel organisation, Stefan Rattel.
Stefan, the GT World Challenge always looked like a good idea. We're halfway through the season now. How do you feel about it?
We're very pleased. You know, it's been an integration between the various series we have around the world, the various GT3 series. We were known in America as a World Challenge. We were known in Europe and Asia as Blancpain GT, so we merged both to get the Blancpain GT World Challenge, and it's going very well. All platforms are successful, and we're especially pleased by the success in Asia.
When you look at the starting grid this weekend, you must be delighted to see that 2/3 of the drivers represent Asian nations.
Yeah, that was the new challenge, if I could say, for this season, because on some of the races I visited last year, there were like a podium with 6 European drivers, and I was like, I'm in Asia, it's an Asian series, so why are there 6 European drivers? So we imposed to have one Asian driver per car, passport, nationality, and that has worked fantastically. And I think that now we really have an Asian championship.
To have an Asian series that includes races at Suzuka and the Fuji Speedway must be quite special.
They are two of the best circuits in the world, undoubtedly, and really we have a calendar that visit the best circuits in Asia, both here in China, in Thailand, in Malaysia, and in Korea now, 5 countries, and I think it's a very good selection.
Fabulous noise still down on the grid. The traditional drummers from the Fugaku Taiku combination, they really make a lot of reverberations and fabulous atmosphere on the grid. You can hear the applause as well. They, I think, have just finished their act, maybe a little bit more, but really they make the air move. And of course we're hoping the cars will make the earth move as well. We've got the pole position car, Tanat Satyanthirakul. He's not leading the championship for nothing, consistent form. And there is Steve Dawson down on the grid to get words with the tie. So let's go down and hear the thoughts of the championship leader.
Bruce, thank you. Those drummers are wonderful, making tremendous atmosphere here on the grid. Another person who's making wonderful atmosphere is our pole sitter, Tanat Satyanthirakul. Tanat, 6/10 ahead of everybody behind you. It looks like the car's showing tremendous pace.
Yes, the car for me feels really good for me in the quali compared to yesterday in the free practice. And I will try to make the most out of it where I will start from pole, and we see what happens.
Any worries about the 5-second penalty?
Nah, not really.
Good luck today.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Steve. There is a confident driver indeed. And with a record from 6 races so far this year of 2 wins, a second, a third, okay, an 8th and 11th. He is one of the few people who feels he can actually dismiss the 5-second success penalty. That's what he picked up for finishing 3rd with his teammate Philipp Hamprecht in the second of the races at Suzuka. Very tight at the finish, as I pointed out earlier. Let's go across to P2 because Steve has moved quickly and he's caught the driver of the Solite Indigo Racing Mercedes, Roelof Bruins.
Yeah, Roelof is with me. Roelof, 4 times the car was penalised for going off track limits. Have you got that problem sorted out?
Yeah, we had a bit of issue like keeping on track at the right corners, mainly because it's so cold outside to get some heat in the tires. But that should be all good now, so looking forward to the race.
Have a great one.
Thank you.
Back to you, Bruce.
Yeah, we caught that very clearly in qualifying. It had rained overnight. The track went from practice when it was wet this morning to a dry circuit, but it still was greasy, and they just couldn't get the tyres to turn in, particularly at the final corner, coming off the start-finish straight. Such a crucial runner for a qualifying lap because we've got a start-finish straight of 1.5 kilometres. It goes on and on and on. But tyre temperatures should be up. The track temperature is rising. It's trying to be sunny, but I don't think we're going to see it today. In fact, if anything, as I came to the commentary position, I felt a few drops of rain. Maybe Steve's got those down on the grid. Maybe they've blown away. But we were told this morning there was a 50% chance of rain this afternoon. But don't forget, on the side of a mountain, you get your own weather conditions. And Steve has moved on to join Vincenzo Sospiri Racing's Alex Au.
Yeah, Bruce, Alex is in P6 today. Alex, only 7/10 between you and most of the cars ahead of you. Looks like it could be quite tight.
Yeah, this year is always going to be tight. And there are also some fast guys behind me, so I think we'll see maybe a pack of 10 cars, maybe swapping positions a little bit at the start.
What's the best you can hope for today?
Rain.
Drive safely.
Thank you.
The very best lines are one word. That was said with feeling because it's been a real mixture. And what we've seen with that Lamborghini, very quick in a straight line, always the fastest car down the start-finish straight, but hasn't got all of the traction it requires for the corners. But good to hear from Vincenzo Sospiri Racing. That car has been there or thereabouts through the course of the season. He's going to hand over around the midpoint of the race to Frederick Schandorf, a very impressive young Dane, who's really starting to make a splash here in Asia. But with a fourth, a fifth, a sixth and a seventh, it shows over the first 6 races in Sepang, Chang International Circuit in Thailand and Suzuka that they really are in the mix. Not yet on the podium. Maybe that will come today. And maybe Frederick Schandorf has been told, you're starting second, do the rain dance. Alex Au said that one-word answer, rain, with some considerable feeling. I love this moment. This is the chance we get to see the cars in all their beauty. Down the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, it's a Lamborghini, not the one we've just seen for Vincenzo Sospiri Racing. New this weekend, one of 3 new cars in the GT3 class. That's Success Racing. They've been in the championship before, but for 2019 they've arrived with Tamotsu Kondo and Motoharu Sato. They're down towards the tail of the GT3 pack, but they're on board. And let's go across to hear from a Mercedes crew, the 888 Race Engineering Australia Mercedes, and on board Prince Abdul Rahman Ibrahim.
Your Royal Highness, it looks like you've got quite a fast car this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, we improve a lot throughout the week, and we have a really solid car, and hopefully we can do quite a lot in the race. Yeah.
Any chance of a podium?
I hope so.
Good luck.
Yeah, we just have to do the right thing out there and take each step at a time and do the right thing and use the car at its full potential.
Back to you, Bruce.
Well, that's good for the driver who races under the name of Jeffrey Abim, but it's a big ask, Steve. I think you put him on the spot there. He's starting down in 17th position. He'll hand over to Yasmin Yafar. We've seen that Yasmin's very quick, right at the sharp end for tomorrow's race. That will be tomorrow just after 1 o'clock. So track conditions will be different. They're different almost by the hour here in Fuji Speedway, because we've had the rain. It was very heavy during the middle of the week. Only now is it really drying out properly. But which teams have guessed right with their setup? But being an optimistic sort of fellow, look, it almost feels in that long shot taken from turn 1. Look, there's light glinting off the wings of those cars. There's the car that's going to be on pole position for tomorrow's race. One of the 3 Craft Bamboo Racing Mercedes. And that will be started by Jeffrey Lee, and he'll hand over to Alessio Picariello. But they were the winners last time out, the second of the 2 races at Suzuka a fortnight ago, in a fabulous run to the finish. What we're going to have today, we will see. But turn 1, always such a tricky corner. Any lap of the race, always an overtaking possibility. But, well, we talk of Jeffrey Lee, and our man Steve has moved super fast, moved across the grid. Let's hear from Jeffrey in the 88 Mercedes.
Yeah, Jeffrey's with me. There's a few cars ahead of you, but what are your hopes for today?
Well, today we just try to manage to get as fast as possible, but this is more like a practice for tomorrow, because we are P1 tomorrow, so we'll put all the effort in for tomorrow and be prepared.
If it rains, is that welcome, or would you rather it didn't?
Yeah, of course, if it rains, we'll benefit from the rain, but I don't know.
Yeah. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. It's mind games, isn't it? Every driver says he prefers rain. I'm not sure all of them really do, but if you're down there, down the grid, and indeed the Craft Bamboo Racing car starting 14th, they do need a different roll of the dice to see if they can work their way up the order. But it's Tanat Sathian Thirikul. You can see his Porsche with the headlights on. That's number 911 on pole position alongside the Solite Indigo Racing Mercedes, Roloff Bruins. We heard from both of those. Behind them, Marco Seefried has come into the championship this weekend. One of many drivers who's joining Yuya Sakamoto through the course of the season in the Hub also Corsa Ferrari. And alongside YN Chen, the 999, the Audi Sport Asia team, TSRT Audi, just hidden behind Roloff Bruins' Mercedes. So many different makes of cars up at the front end. Now we can see that little Audi just in front of the Lamborghini, in which we have Alex Au, a driver looking to try and get that first podium of the season for Vincenzo Sospiri Racing. So as the safety car, the pace car goes around, we'll have the start of the formation lap. One last chance for these drivers to assess conditions around the 4.563 kilometres. But the Blancpain GT World Challenge in America, let's look at the 4 nominated Mercedes drivers, with Colin Brown leading the way. In Europe, they have Raffaele Marcello leading their attack, and Luca Stoltz pushing very, very hard indeed. And Roloff Bruins, he's definitely the star man. And Jeffrey Lee, they both have been right at the front end with wins across Asia. So there are the 12 drivers scoring points across the 3 championships for Mercedes. And the Ferrari lineups in the States. Tony Velander is the star in the car with the prancing horse on its flank. Andrea Bertolini going very well in Europe. Louis Michiels has had some good runs too. He's a bronze class driver, but he's still scoring points. Rio Haryanto being flashes of speed, and Yuya Sakamoto hoping his new teammate this weekend can take him to the top. But we tot up the points. Who's leading? Is it Mercedes? No, indeed. 6:109. It's well clear from Ferrari. But maybe this weekend the conditions will change and the prancing horse will fight back. 31 cars, the biggest field of the season. Tanat Sathyanthirikul leading it round for pole. So his Porsche ahead of Roloff Bruins is Mercedes. Row number 2, a Ferrari. Hub also Corsa with Marco Seefried making his debut, and Wyan Chen in Audi. 4 makes of cars in the top 4 positions. And Hiroaki Nagai, ARN Racing, going better and better. They're on home soil this weekend, and Alex Zhao hoping he can put his Lamborghini up onto the podium. Wyan Tan, his car got put back 5 positions for a misdemeanor at Suzuka, but that should be right at the sharp end as well. And plenty of promise from the McLaren this time. Best qualifying position, 10th fastest, so that's 7:20. Yes, there it is, just above the graphic. The orange car going better and better. Down around the middle order, we've got 24 cars running in the senior class, in the GT3 class, and there are some names that really could be closer to the front, but we're constantly changing track conditions. Things were very, very quick firing qualifying as they tried to get used to the cars. Looking now on screen at the GT4 runners, right at the tail of the field, another car that had a 5-place grid penalty, but as it had some problems then. Oh dear, we've had a spin from the better placed for the grid. That's Kyo Chang has spun the 199 Mercedes. Better get that going. Has he managed to stall it? No, thank goodness. He should be able to get back round, and presumably we'll have to form up at the rear of the grid because everybody else has gone past. Another new car this weekend in GT4 is the Birth Racing Project Mercedes, and delighted on home ground in Japan, we have a second car from BMW Team Studi. Such a popular team everywhere with their multicoloured cars, but right now the tail of the field needs to catch up because the front runners are coming around to take a look at the starting gantry. We need to have the red lights come on, and then who's going to lead down to the first corner? Will it be Tanat Sathyanthirikul or will it be Roloff Bruins? They're doing exactly as the doctor ordered, 2 by 2. The GT4 field just coming through the final corner onto this super long start for this straight, but all content, all pressure, all focus, looking at the lights. They're still red. It's a long hold. Car at the back of the field has got a problem with its bonnet by the looks of things, but let's look at the front. Really clean start. Brilliant getaway by Alex Zhao, trying to get that white Lamborghini up a place or 2, but from pole position being challenged. Well, the Ferrari had a little look, but Marco Seefried's tucking in behind. He's going to have to go the long way around Roloff Bruins if he wants to lead, but up. Oh, in too deep to the corner. Sathyanthirikul's made a mistake, and suddenly Roloff Bruins into the lead of the race. Alex Zhao, promising start, but he went too deep. I knew some cars were going to do so. Roloff Bruins into the lead of the race. Poleman Sathyanthirikul back and up from 7th. A brilliant start from Wyan Tan. Up into 4th, off the circuit at turn 3. Lots of argy-bargy, but the first 2 are managing to get away. Still can't see Mount Fuji. We'll come to that later. Great interviews down on the grid by Steve Dawson. Really building up the pressure and the feeling before the race. Will it rain for those drivers starting further down the order? We will see, but very good approach to turn 1 by Roloff Bruins. It looked so he tucked in behind Sathyanthirikul, but the Porsche driver went in too deep, went off the circuit, rejoined, and by the time he did so, cutting up into the inside line, Bruins took the lead. Looking in behind as the Ferrari holds down 3rd place. Marco Seefried, such an experienced international GT racer, really enjoying his time here at Fuji Speedway. But the fast 2, the 2 cars that were on the front row, albeit in reverse order. Bruins in the lead of the race. Tanat Sathyanthirikul doing his best to hang on, and in fact trying to stay on was the race leading Roloff Bruins. Steve, great interviews down on the grid. Really got the atmosphere down there, those drums going. It must have really built up there.
It's super down there. Let me just report that there are spots and speckles of rain. I don't anticipate that it's really going to get much worse than that. So I think some of the torrential rain, perhaps, that some of the mid-runners are hoping for probably won't happen. But some rain.
A broken cloud up above the circuit, but what we saw, a far better entry to the start-finish straight from the pole starter, and Sathyanthirikul having a little look at Bruins. He got the toe. Some place changes further back, so Wyan Chen is trying to regain position, having started 4th and got muscled out at turn 3 on the opening lap. But there was a gap of best part of 0.6 of a second between the 2 front row starters, but the slower driver in qualifying, Bruins, is in front. He had some faster laps, but don't forget he, like many drivers, went off the circuit several times beyond the white lines, and this could be a feature in this race. But at the end of the opening lap, 0.322 of a second, it's come down by 100th around the middle stage of this lap.
Yeah, you can see it's going to be a good tussle. They're nice and close, these 2. The one behind always looking for the slingshot from the one in front. That's how it could be for some time here.
Yes, I think the qualifying advantage for Sathyanthirikul in the Absolute Racing Porsche is such he's just got to find his moment. He's got the speed in the car, he's got the speed himself. The tyre is absolutely flying this year, leading the championship with his teammate Philippe Hamprecht, but Rolf Bruins has got better and better over the last 12 months in particular. Racing experience dates back to his time racing in Europe long ago, but this season he's really matured with a Solar Indigo Racing Mercedes, because he's not flustered. There used to be moments when his armour would crack in recent years, but now he's capable of running right on the pace. Oh dear, Jeffrey Lee's had a spin along with the Anstone Racing Mercedes, so two cars that need to pick their way up the order. You put him off by interviewing him down on the grid.
My apologies.
Yeah, he's going to be very, very cross. He'll send you the bill for that. But anyhow, the fact we've had one bit of contact around the first 2 laps is remarkable, with 31 cars. Just repeat that. That's the biggest field of the year. But right now, first to second, it was 0.322 of a second. It's come down to 0.279 in the slipstream. Not quite close enough to make a move, but he's going to try anyhow. Just do anything he can to unsettle Bruins. In behind, Marco Seefried is running at a marginally slower pace. He lost a quarter of a second. It really is all eyes on this lead battle. As you can see, it swings around by, we're dealing in the thousandths of a second. But the big question at this point is, what are they doing to their tyres? Because they're both clearly really, really on it.
The other aspect to consider is, if we're talking about thousandths of a second, and that's not easy to say, is it? There'll be a 5-second penalty. A bit of steam there, a bit of smoke.
Well, that's the front bodywork rubbing, oh dear, front left corner of number 17. So you'd actually feel perhaps that was the assault weapon that hit the side of Jeffrey Lee's Mercedes, because that would indicate how they came together down at turn 4. And into the pits comes car number 90. That Porsche obviously planned to be out on the track a little bit longer, but well, you can see there's been rear contact. Someone's clipped his wing. Actually, it looks as though the panel has simply come loose. Was the front bodywork? No, yeah, the front bodywork looks a little loose too. So maybe for Li Chao in 910. Again, it just looks like the lid has come up at the rear. Anyhow, so there's been contact around about sort of 15th, 16th position. I tried that one. Don't do that at home. For 918, what a nightmare for Vuticonin through a Fuvasak. Small gap. Oh dear, suddenly it's all going terribly wrong. Shards of damage on the track. The McLaren will gain a couple of positions. What is going on down in the middle order? In fact, he was higher up, 8th at the start of that. Vuticonin through Fuvasak. Was that due to...
I can't
There's
believe
got to be contact that's forced that up. But
he's got vision, I suppose, just under that bonnet. He can see what he's doing, otherwise he wouldn't be driving so quickly.
Yeah, he's got a phenomenal memory, but further contact... Well, I think the bonnet came back, whether from contact or not, but then when he spun, half spun, that's when the front wing is coming up. So the pit window isn't open yet, but those coming in are losing an awful lot of time. Cars 11 and 199 under investigation. Incident at T10 during the formation lap. Well, T10 is the point at which we saw 199 having had a spin, and Keo Chang is continuing on his way.
At least that car's getting a bit of cooling to the engine.
Well, don't forget, this is a car that's very well placed in the championship, so it's really unfortunate for Inter Fuvasak. Came here to Fuji Speedway, 3rd in the championship. Okay, damage at the front. They can put the bonnet back down, but not quite into the shape that it normally would be applied, because surely that front bodywork is twisted. So really, really unfortunate for the Panther AAS Motorsport crew. They've had a really strong season. And don't forget, they took a win in the second of the 2 races at Thailand. That's why they're so well placed. Up front, though, Rolf Bruins still in front, but the gap's come down at the start of that point. 1.17 of a second.
I got interrupted because we had that little incident earlier on, but the 5-second penalty will be given to the Absolute Racing team. So Tanat Sathyantirikul will suffer a 5-second delay when they make that changeover and Philippe Hamprecht steps into the car. So as we speak about tenths and even thousandths of a second between the top 2, we'd better consider that.
Penalty collision at turn 10. Car 1-1 drive-through penalty causing a collision at turn 10.
Okay, that answers some questions, because as I saw the cars coming around the final corners to start the race, I thought I spotted bodywork damage at the front end of the GTO Racing. It's the blue Mercedes, and that is going around. He's got a drive-through penalty to serve, so the contact, that is why we obviously had 199 having had the spin. So for Keo Chang, he'll be aggrieved, but for Brian Lee, he's picking up the punishment. Brian was actually in the Pro-Am class. GT4.
Plenty of incident with a big field like this, so it's almost to be expected, isn't it?
Yeah, a little unfortunate, but the thing is, the Fuji Speedway gives you spaces in which you can attempt an overtaking manoeuvre. So causing a collision on the parade lap, on the formation lap. Bonnet is down, but I'm sure I saw it up in the air as he came around the final corner. Maybe I was looking at the black flash, but fastest lap of the race set last time around by Tanat Sathyanthirikul. He's still in second place, though. He's got within that half second. One of the cars that normally is challenging him, the 918. You can see the second driver for that car, Alexander Imperatori, missed the last round. Another pit visitor. It's becoming a contagion today. It's Johnsawat Asavahami. He's in the pits. He's listed in 18th place, but will be falling with that. So quite a few drivers have gained 2 or 3 positions. You talked to Jeffrey Ibrahim on the grid. He was starting way down in 17th position. With all those changes, he's moved up 5 places to 12th. So points could be in the bag for him later in the race if they can gain 2 more positions when Jasim Jafar takes over.
999 car, Wei Chen, has gone quickest in section 1 and sector 2, so he's really building up to a super lap. Currently in 5th place.
In 5th, but he's got clear air in front and behind, so he at least can concentrate. You can see a bit of bodywork damage just in the right-hand flank of the 88 J-Fly Racing Mercedes entered by Kraft Bamboo Racing. That's Jeffrey Lee. We saw the spin and we know there was contact. We know he was clanked up the side, so no problem at all. But for the second race running,
that'll
Jeffrey
sort
Lee.
it.
Yeah, I need some of that actually. Sort me. But so, unfortunately for 128, it is time lost sitting in the pits, but they'll get back out. But for the Tana Motorsport, good chance to come a race here at Fuji. And you can see a lot of incidents are being considered in race control. The stewards have eyes and they use them, and 88 has been given that clonk by car 17. So unfortunately feel the Anstone Racing crew are going to pick up a penalty, and that will be Jouvai's race compromised. Looking there at the Vincenzo Sospiri Racing 666 Lamborghini, it had a little pitch towards the front, but Alex Au went backwards in the end, started 6th, he's down in 8th, and fastest lap of the race, well spotted, Steve, that was Wei Chen last time around, still in 5th, but catching up with the car in front, gained half a second, useful laps. Bit of debris being collected by the field there. The McLaren hit it first. In fact, the McLaren was the first car to get down among that debris with the collision from the 918. Porsche had its bonnet up, couldn't see where it was going. Sort of Keystone Cops in the early stage, but not for Rolf Bruins. He was wise at the first corner with Tanat Sathyanthirikul. Started from pole, was ahead going to the corner, but just didn't get the braking done. And it's the Bruins with the calm head. He's now 1.1 seconds clear. He's just set his fastest lap of the race, while the pace of Sathyanthirikul is dropping away. And Marco Seefried in the Ferrari is starting to catch up. So it's Bruins from Sathyanthirikul, Mercedes from Porsche, the Ferrari in next, and then an Audi, 2 Audis in fact, Tan and Chen, 4th and 5th. There goes our race leader. How was the last lap? Slightly slower than the previous one, but another 1/10 of a second gain. How amusing. 88 and 17 are together on the track. They're behind the car guy racing Ferrari. This is a team that has its base just outside the circuit boundary. Started down at the tail of the class, but
19th currently.
19th. Those in behind quicker, but they're on its tail. They've got to find a way by. Jeffrey Lee taking a bit of a wide line. And for the second time in the race, this is not going to look good with the stewards. The 17 Mercedes has clonked the 88 car into a spin. And you really, really have to feel Jeffrey Lee, Alessio Picariello, and others. Well, in fact, that's another garage. There's Kraft Bamboo garage looking at the screens and just shaking their heads. But yellow flag at turn 15. Well, we can see why. That's the penultimate corner on the track. There's debris on the circuit for that was the 199 car that was spun on its parade lap. It's now having to go on the grass in avoidance of the spun Anstone Racing car. So for Jouvai, there's red dots on the flanks of his Anstone Racing Mercedes, and clearly a bit of a red mist inside his helmet. Let's take a look. He's dived up the inside. There is an inside, but there is a thing called physics. And there's
car 17 drive-through penalty causing a collision, turn 10. Car 17 drive-through penalty causing collision at turn 10.
And I do believe for Jouvai that was the first of their 2 collisions. So next time, what do you reckon? Is it up? Is the second offence crucifixion? I never know.
3 strikes and you're out. That's the old rule.
Yeah, no, most certainly it is. Up front, I keep saying that, we settle down. Poor Jeffrey Lee, he'd love to settle down. He's got a little bit of bodywork damage. He's had the second collision, both times the same assailant. There he is, bodywork flapping away, but as long as that doesn't come off and go under the wheel behind it and cause a puncture, but when it comes to the pit stop, they'll have to get some tape on that. But for now, continuing, fastest lap of the race set again by Wei Chen in 5th place. He's now, he was 5 seconds back on Wei on Tan, but he's really caught up. He's now just under 2 seconds down on Tan. So battle to be the best of the Audis, aiming for 4th place. It's Wei Chen, started 4th. got a little bit caught out on that very busy opening lap. I haven't seen a replay of the first couple of corners. You were running down here from the pit lane, but it was, what should you say, Hyde Park corner. It was busy.
I wouldn't mind seeing it myself. Bruins has opened up that gap now. It's now 1.138 seconds ahead of Sathian Thirikul.
And why is Sathian Thirikul suddenly in pressure? That's because the car chasing him, the Hub Autocorsa Ferrari with Marco Seefried, is coming. Has just set the fastest first sector of anybody right on the tail now. This is brilliant news for Olof Bruins. It's taking the pressure off his tail. He just got enough of a gap. For lap after lap, it was about 0.4 of a second, 0.3, 0.5 of a second back to Sathian Thirikul. Sathian Thirikul no longer quite in his tow.
And Seefried is going quicker and quicker. His best sector 1 of the race so far. So really putting that pressure.
Yeah, he's playing it down, but don't forget it's an hour's race. The pit window doesn't open for another 11 and a bit minutes, but if you push really hard, really on, you know what? You've robbed the piggy bank. You don't have the tyre life for later in the race. But I'd expect Marcus Seefried to be, with all his years of GT racing, able to measure what he's got beneath him and keep some life in those Pirellis.
Well, this is good stuff. Lots of incident, lots of very fast driving as well. Good action at the front and in the middle. You're looking at the race for first. Bruins ahead, Sathian Thirikul in second, but getting that pressure from Seefried, the 27 car right behind him.
Yeah, the Audi's not quite able to live with them. About a tenth of a second down. This is the drop from turn 1 to turn 2, and they've got traffic behind and in front, but they haven't started the lapping yet. They've got to look what's up ahead, but I'd suggest that lead is now 1.2 seconds from Bruins to Sathian Thirikul. When they get to come up on the tail enders, he's got enough of a gap ahead of him. He's looking at the track to see, is there a gaggle of GT4 cars? But I tell you what, actually out on the circuit, the first cars he's probably going to meet are GT3 runners who've been pit visitors and had a couple more rotations thrown into the mix. But right now, they're our first 4, all in the lead shot. 3.5 seconds cover them. And the 5th place Audi will be at the back of that pack any moment soon as well, because, OK, they've come up to number 11. That, of course, served a drive-through penalty. Brian Lee at the wheel of the GTO Racing Mercedes. And he's going to lose a whole heap of time because he's got to get out their way. That'll get him off the racing line. That will drop his racing speed, but does it very well at the first part of that sequence, but he's got nowhere else to go. That is bad news for Sathian Thirikul. Very good news for the race leader, Olof Bruins. It gained him another couple of tenths of a second. He's now going around the penultimate corner of the circuit into the final corner now. He's going to try and get that Mercedes balance so he can get the power down as soon as possible. In fact, the damage wasn't too bad for Sathian Thirikul. Looks like it could have been worse trying to go round the outside of that blue GT4 Mercedes. But it's the Mercedes in front overall. Let's see, it was 1.266 seconds. Did he gain in that sequence of events? Let's see the gap back to Sathian Thirikul. In fact, it's gone down. What do I know? It's gone down to 0.94 of a second. Now they've got more traffic up ahead. 199. It's running around in the GT4 class. In 6th in class, Kyo Chang. He was the one who was tipped into a spin on the formation lap. Not something you normally find in the textbook of how to go racing. Stays to driver's right, but he's got to turn in at some point. So I really feel that what Olof Bruins will gain in some overtaking manoeuvres is he may well lose again in others. Let's see. But at the moment, slicing his way through the GT4 field. Who is leading in GT4? I'll tell you what, it's not a big surprise. It's Takayuki Kinoshita in the lead BMW from BMW Team Studi. He's got a decent advantage over Jean-Marc Merlin, who all weekend has been clearly the driver most likely to take the baton to him in that Craft Bamboo Racing Mercedes. It's
around 6.5 seconds, the gap between the two of them, and there is another driver in between them, so Kinoshita looks fairly safe for now.
The 5th place Audi is number 999. That's the one that has the fastest lap of the race. Trying to catch all of them is the driver in our screen here, Hiroaki Nagai for ARN Racing. The team is going better and better, and they've really enjoyed the first of their 2 meetings on home ground in Japan. 2 really good races at Suzuka, and here we have, he is the leader in Pro-Am, so looking for more valuable points to put in their pot. Peter Birrenbachti was 6 and a bit, and it shows a good lap because he's actually gone. Birrenbachti's now got 6 seconds behind, he's 8.2. Alex Au trying to be best of the rest, but it wasn't the most brilliant start of the race. He got a bit muscled out in the opening corner sequences and is 3rd in the class, but he's only just clear of David Chipto Biantoro in that really good-looking red and metallic blue Mercedes that we were looking at earlier. Ferrari, gosh, wrong in my eyes, but anyhow, down the start-finish straight, ARN Racing leading the prime class. Bit of tyre debris there, but we've seen cars with battered bodywork and bits of tyre can be rubbed off, but that doesn't look like the sharp stuff. going around the 82 BMW there. That's the second car in the from the Team Studi stable, but it's down towards tail end of the back. It's fifth in GT4 at the moment. In the AM class, it's Andrew McPherson leading the way, 14th overall, and he's nearly 5 seconds clear. And the car chasing is number 60, and it's Kei Nakanishi, LM Corsa Porsche. That was given a bit of a knock off the circuit at Suzuka, having a better run this time around.
Looks mean, doesn't it, with those headlight designs there?
Yes, a lovely little tweak. I've got Nashers. Here's the second car in class. LM Corsa joined the championship at Suzuka. Very good run here. In fact, a very good run. The gap was really tumbled down in the last lap. It went from 5 and a bit seconds to 2 seconds. It's come down even since then. Kei Nakanishi really pressing on. There he goes, LM Corsa Porsche, picking up the pace all the time. New car this weekend, the white Mercedes, trying to stay out of the way, but slightly impinging YN Chen, the 999 Audi, but under acceleration, of course, the GT3 car has an awful lot more grunt and blasts past the Birth Racing Project Mercedes. Car number 19, running third in the GT4 class, so really good debut. They've looked super solid.
7 drive-through penalty causing collision, turn 15. Car 17 drive-through penalty causing collision at turn 15.
So that's Anstone Racing, that's Juvai, that's his second drive-through penalty for his second collision. All he needs now to get the sort of royal flush is to be speeding when he comes in to serve his drive-through penalty, and then they really will take him out of the driving seat and put him on the naughty step. There is the Anstone Mercedes. And out of the zone, out of the pits there, was that 666? Just looking at my screen, no, they were just taking the inside line, so I'm just slightly confused as the traffic got very busy indeed. 666 now under pressure from the T2 Motorsport Ferrari there. Worked it better as they went into turn 3, but the Ferrari's still coming. David Chipto Biantoro in 9th and 10th, and their lap pace last time around was in favour of, well, the Ferrari driver. That's why he's closed in half a second quicker.
I wonder now, with the gap between Bruins and Satyen Tirakel almost 1.4 seconds, and that success penalty to come for Satyen Tirakel, if the only real worry for Bruins now is just keeping his car within the confines of the track. He had terrible trouble with that, as we heard earlier on in qualifying. They think they've overcome it, but there's a long way to go.
There is a long way to go, but due to a less than shiny result in the second race at Suzuka, there is no success penalty for Olof Bruins. And that really could play to his advantage. Just has to keep it clean, but he is just gaining a tenth of a second with every lap. Here he goes. Let's see what his pace is at the end of this lap. Lap speeds are all dropping away a bit. I think their tyres have gone past their very best. But he actually lost a third of a second that time around. It's down to 1.068 seconds. So better lap for Satyen Tirakel, but we mustn't discount the Ferrari, number 27, in third place overall. He has no success penalty to serve. Hub Auto Corsa, Marco Seifried doing a very good job. So 1.1 3/4 seconds, well, you can see there, all together in shot, and not far behind, Wear on Tan in that number 12 Audi, and in turn behind him, Wei En Chen. 4.5 seconds cover the top 5 runners. That's not bad with 12 laps completed. Very competitive.
Sizable marbles at various locations on this track. You see some of them there, and more than marbles in places, like cattails in various parts.
So drive-through penalty, that means drive-through, don't drive and stop. I think there's general confusion going on at Anstone Racing. Now they go.
Maybe just wanted a chat.
Yeah. Well, a warning there from the crew. Behave, you haven't got long. So pit window will open in just over 3 minutes' time. See so much the 912 Porsche into this race. 8th place overall for Wambo. Just trying to gain positions where he possibly can. Doing a decent job there, and behind the Lamborghini that came in for the pit stop that hadn't been ordered. 912 Wambo just trying to advance. Started from 9th on the grid, is only up to 8th overall. He's got quite a gap, 3.5 seconds back from the McLaren of PT Biron-Bakti. Really need to pick that out. That is a car that this weekend has just looked far better sorted than it has at the previous rounds. our race leader. He was, well, it doesn't look as though there's been a great change between first and second. It's or third, still running that order. 1.5 seconds cover the top three. Weaving there, it's like a slalom race around the bits of rubber down the start finish straight. Quite a few of those came from the Anstone Racing Mercedes with that rubbing bodywork after, I don't know, the first or maybe the second of its collision.
I'll tell you what, though, if we get a prolonged look at Bruins, just see how he tests the limits of this track. He's going very, very close on occasion to getting both wheels over the track limits, and that spells trouble for him. He's got to be very careful.
Well, I suppose you could say drivers have to find the example. Now this is the battle for GT in GT4. It's not the battle for the lead of the class. It's the second of the Team Studi cars, and it looks as though place has just changed. Into 5th in the class goes Umeda, back down to 6th goes Kyo Chang in the 199 Mercedes. So good bit of hunting by BMW Team Studi.
As they were racing, they had to avoid that enormous bit of rubber.
Behind Christina Nielsen, see her, she's running 11th overall. She'll be catching them up. That's the 99 Mercedes. I just saw this battle, so it could go back the other way again. This could be the moment as they're both overtaken by the GT3. Much faster, much more powerful, much more aerodynamic GT3 car. But Umeda, well, he's not swinging out of the way particularly. Shinsuke Umeda, and that's allowed 199 back onto his tail. So back in again comes number 17 for a day of misdemeanors. Now let's see how a drive-through penalty should be done. I thought a drive-through penalty just meant drive to the far end and continue. Maybe something is being lost in the translation.
Stopped again, and
pit stop window is still not open. The team's coming out to have a look. Can be very, very cosmopolitan in the racing world, and maybe certain things are being lost in the translation. Looks as though he's popped his belt. Now they're having to be tightened up. So I think the two races at Fuji Speedway, they can put a line through it at Anstone Racing and come back and do it far better again tomorrow. We have a change for the lead. Suddenly Tanat Satyanthirakul has overtaken while we're looking in the pit lane. Oh, typical, isn't it? It's just bad luck. So our first three are even closer, but we have a change in order. Roelof Bruins, maybe he took too much out of his tyres, maybe a GT4 runner was in his way, but the pole man still probably brewing that over-ambitious entrance into turn 1 on the opening lap. Now in the lead of the race, and suddenly Roelof Bruins is being challenged by a different car. And it's not protecting the lead, it's not defending the lead, it is Marco Seefried in the Ferrari getting close on the tail of Roelof Bruins. Once into the lead. Don't forget, Tanat Satyanthirakul was quicker in qualifying. Oh, dive up the inside, but at the last second, pulling out of the run there into the chicane. That's turn 10 upwards. I always felt in this race, if Tanat Satyanthirakul could get into the lead, he'd be able to pull away. And my golly, he's showing that with considerable expertise and aplomb, whatever you want to say. How much has gone out of the life of Roelof Bruins' tyres, we do not know. And don't forget, for a lot of these teams, they've had a fair bit of running, but almost every time they've taken to the circuit, the surface has been different. It's either been wet, in between, drying, now it's dry. But don't forget, this isn't about qualifying lap time. So pit window, and first of the visitors from the front end of the field, Roelof Bruins, clearly not entirely happy with life in the car at the moment, thought, bring it in, hand it over to your teammates. And that is Manuel Metzger, who's had a good run with him before, of course. And we are going to send Steve up into the pit lane, and Jeffrey Ibrahim came in from just outside the top 10, and he will hand over to Jasmine Jafar. Don't worry, there's not a problem. These cars have to be at a standstill for a certain amount of time. From pit in to pit out, they cannot take less than 90 seconds. That's a figure that's adjusted all around the various championship venues according to the length of the pit lane, but it's 90 seconds from in to out, so it means the teams don't have to cover. Oh no, I did joke about car 17 having 2 drive-throughs and being done worse. It could be being done for speeding in the pit lane. It's under investigation for that very offence. I wish I'd never mentioned it. So the first of the pit stoppers going back out onto the circuit. Christina Nielsen being a bit frustrated by the pace of the Asavahame Lamborghini, but there's a maximum pace in the pit lane. 9.12. Most brilliant run for Wanbo, but let's see what it can do when it goes back out. This is the second of the 2 Absolute Racing Porsches, and now be in the hands of Liu Yihong Li. Normally Wanbo is the better of that duo in terms of pace, but it does vary from circuit to circuit. Ever brighter conditions out on track. Right, the second of the runners enjoying a run in the Success Racing Lamborghini, started by Tomotsu Kondo. Now it's Motoharu Sato out in number 390. that's running in the AM class. Car guy racing in, you can see that with your eyes shut, it's so bright. Cars coming out in clusters. The 88 Mercedes stuck between those two Audis 12 and 999 that had been jostling for 4th position in the first part of the race. Rahel Frey's taken over the 999 car. Normally it's Andre Couto, but the Swiss racer is here, and I think she's very much enjoying her time at the circuit. But what we see, even in the first few corners, is Martin Rump, who knows this car super well, knows the circuit well, has got the hammer down, and is pulling clear. They were almost nose to tail when they came out of the pit, 12 ahead of 999. That's still the order, but the person who's really making the moves, car 88, it's the driver who's got pole for tomorrow's race. It's Alessio Picariello. They won the second of the 2 races at Suzuka. He's got the speed, he's got the confidence, and these are 2 of the quickest drivers from the last round, side by side. And this looks as though it could be quite scary. 83, new this weekend, X-Works team with its Audi. And that needs to sort of keep out of the way. And that's Philip Tang. He will be handing over to Sean Thom. His stint will come to an end very soon indeed, but slightly frustrating there for Martin Rump, because he needs to get past. He is doing so now. So through goes Picariello. These cars could be working their way forward, but don't forget Picariello's car, with Jeffrey Lee being pitched into not 1 but 2 spins, both times by the same driver, which was the driver of the Anstone Racing Mercedes. He's out of kilter, out of the loop, so he shouldn't be pushing too hard on Rump. Of course, he doesn't want to lose ground. He'd rather get ahead and try and see if he can get back some of the lap he lost, or his teammate lost, through no fault of his own in the first part of the race. But again, just using the slipstream, they will gradually drop Rahel Frey. I think you can just see the green wing of her Audi. She hasn't managed to catch the X-Works car. 83, that's not in their battle, but still out on the circuit in the hands of Philip Tang. And in from the lead of the race, Tanart Sathyan Thirikul, the 911 Porsche, would have been pleased he got the nose of that car in front. It's the championship leader. Out comes Philip Hamprecht. Don't need to rush too much. There's plenty of time with that allocation of 90 seconds from pit in. It allows the driver to get out, new one to get in. They can insert the seat insert, or move one out from behind a shorter driver, get the belts done up, change the Pirellis all round, go out and play all over again. But this pairing, with 2 wins so far from 6 races this season, 2 other podium positions, they know they've got what it takes to win. But don't forget, their pit stop does come at a price. They're going to have those 5 extra seconds at a standstill, which is half what the 918 Porsche would have had, but of course we saw that push back into the garage. And 15 seconds for Jeffrey Lee to Alessio Picariello. That has been served because they were the winners last time out, but they're already a full lap in arrears after the 2 incidents. Car 27, the pit stop has been done. The pit window's still open for another 4 minutes, and we'll see where that slots in. What's going on? Is that Happiness down in the pit lane? That's Sathyan Thirikul out of the car. So he's suffering a little bit there, but shows how much effort he put in. And don't forget, he didn't just hunt, he did the passing manoeuvre as well. Yeah, it's good. Okay. Yet more debris on the start-finish straight, not in a position where any marshal can recover it. And the only problem is, if that's been there for a while, is that the new drivers don't know about it, and those who are still to make their pit stops, they're aware and they duck out of the way. So 911 back out. Those 5 extra seconds would have cost it track position. It's come out behind number 12, and that's the car now in the hands of Martin Rump. But let's see what Philip Hamprecht can do. Seemingly coming now, finally in the pits for the right time. The first planned visit after 3 other ones for the Anstone Racing Mercedes on a day they will very much want to consign to their memory, or not to their memory, the way it's been. Incident between car 60 and 128, no further action. That was down at turn 7. Good to hear no further penalties for Tana Motorsport Lamborghini. That's number 128. And the LM Corsa Porsche, we saw the bit of bodywork damage. Now Yasemin Jafar trying to pick up the pace. He's down in 13th position at the moment, but still waiting for a few pit visits. Well, we saw Tanart Sathyan Thirikul get out of the car. A great run to get back into the lead. Let's go down and hear his thoughts after an interesting first stint.
Yeah, first of all, Bruce, Tanart has injured himself, I think, as he came out of the car. Tanart, what happened?
I think the car just rubbed on my foot. That's my fault for putting my feet underneath the car.
Tell me about the start.
Well, I tried to brake a bit late because he was on the outside, but apparently I was a bit too late for the grip I have, so I went off. But then I tried to fight back a little bit, but then I was settled for second for a while. And then I think he has some kind of car problem or something. So I managed to pass him back, and now I handle to Philip, and then we see.
Keep applying that ice, get well soon.
Yeah, I hope it's okay. No, but it's okay, no problem. It's okay. Thank you.
Interesting. A possible car problem for the car that is actually leading the race at the moment, Manuel Metzger. In comes the X-Works Audi to make it stop. Alessio Picariello completely out of the picture in 18th place, just banged in the fastest lap of the race. The car behind him, also a Craft Bamboo Racing Mercedes, just toppled that, Melvin Moe, but they're 18th and 19th, fastest cars on the track. There is 88. He's going to carry on trying to unlap himself. He's a lap behind that number 12 Audi in the hands of Martin Rump. Martin's just put in the best lap for that car. He's tucked in behind Yuya Sakamoto, and Rump should be able to pass Sakamoto. Sakamoto's good, but Rump is really on form this year. And then Picariello's just wanting to say, look, whatever you're doing, just get out of my way. I need to try and gain positions. I don't want to be down in what is 18th place. But for Martin Rump, he is third. Sakamoto is second. Manuel Metzger leading in that 97 Solite Indigo Racing Mercedes. 2 and a bit seconds up the road. But is there a car problem, or was it simply a mistake from Roloff Bruins that suddenly allowed the 911 Porsche back into the lead of the race, having taken the lead at the first corner? Philip Hamprecht, third overall. Of course, they had extra time at a standstill in their pit stop. Let's see how he can hook it up. In fact, I think he's going to be a bit further down. Well, it seems that Jouvin may not be rejoining the race, or the number 17 number 17 Anstone Racing Mercedes. Now here is the race leader, Manuel Metzger, again, just as other cars are coming out of the pits. That was lucky for him, because it means the second place car of Yuya Sakamoto, the Hub Auto Corsa Friends, could take a longer line into the first turn, has now got past the X-Works Audi, and the driver in behind giving chase is Martin Rump. He's just 0.7 of a second down on the second place Ferrari. Then Philip Hamprecht is 4 seconds further back in the 911 Porsche. Rahel Frey about 4 seconds behind him. That's our top 5. And a car we haven't talked about a huge amount in this race. We saw it a little bit with Hiroaki Nagai leading the Pro-Am class. It's Yuta Kamimura, 6th place overall. Again, just showing this constant progress with ARN Racing since they moved from racing Ferraris in the past to running totally different chassis, running Porsche this year. GT4 runner trying to stay out of the way. One of the team iRace win Mercedes. There is the second place Ferrari, Yuya Sakamoto. And they're already getting back to closing on his tail. Quick glance at the timing screens as we look at the Hub Auto Corsa Ferrari, and the driver who is listed in 12th place overall, I think, will be gaining places fast, because the fastest lap of the race, Jazam Jafar, the 888, the 888 Racing Mercedes, started by Jeffrey Ibrahim, started down from row number 9 in 17th place overall. That is making progress, not just in terms of lap speed, but in terms of track position, up to 12th overall. Cars on the start-finish straight continuing to fire up all these little bits of tyre debris around the circuit. Just trying to look, there's still the bodywork flapping on the other flank, the far flank of the 88 Mercedes, where it was given one of its 2 clonks by the Anstone Racing Mercedes, but I think it's nothing untoward. It doesn't seem to be getting any worse. We'll have a look at it now. Yeah, just ahead of the rear wheel, it's the back part of effectively the balance under the car. Here's our Pro-Am class leader, ARN Racing. Doing very well indeed. Yuta Kamimura. A huge number of Japanese racers enjoying their home event, one of their 2 home events. 2 weeks ago was Suzuka, now Fuji Speedway. Next time out will be in Korea. We go to the track that was built specifically to hold the Korean Grand Prix at Yong'an. Would hardly be more different from a circuit built on the side of a volcano. Plenty of gradient change, which is what I always love in a race circuit. And Fuji, as you can see, really wide in parts. It does allow drivers to at least think they've got a shot at overtaking. Kamimura has just as we've watched him, put in the fastest middle sector of anybody. So the ARN Racing Porsche in a very, very sweet spot of its performance curve right now. He just set the fastest middle sector. Meanwhile, Martin Rump in the number 12 Audi. That is the top car, the fastest car in the top class, but running third overall. Leading way in GT4 is not Tsunako Jiguchu. He had 15 seconds. He had to sit at a standstill, and that is why the 77 Mercedes from Craft Bamboo was at a standstill for 10 seconds less, is in the lead of the class with David Pun, driver from Hong Kong, making his class debut, his championship debut. Car 83, however, appears it may have transgressed being in the pit stop for less than the mandatory time. So for Sean Thong, who's just taken it over, that will be frustrating. Actually, for Sean, what will be more frustrating. Last time he was in this championship, he was vying for honours, and today he's in a car that's in 18th position. And unfortunately, well, if you're at 0.1 of a second under, you have to come in and serve 0.1 of a second at a standstill before you get going again. But he wasn't. He was a full 13 seconds under. Not even close. Another place being gained by the 888 Mercedes. Or is it? In fact, Darrell Young in the 99 Mercedes has caught him and passed him and flicking up all that debris on the start-finish straight as they go past the pits. Two of the quickest Mercedes drivers at the tail end of the top 10. In fact, outside 11th and 12th, just outside the top 10, but both have shown really strong form. Don't forget, fastest lap of the race, still the property of the 888 Mercedes. All set since Jasmine Yafart took over the car, but there is the place change. It's going to change back again. I think this could entertain us the next few laps. Jasmine Jafar in 888, dukes it out with 99, Darrell Young. And you can see in that battle how they take totally different lines. Jasmine's experimenting one way, then the other, but Young is in front now. Will he stay? Oh, a big swerve dive around the outside. There's not going to be space, or is there? In towards the chicane. Late in, wide out, early in, tight out. But I'd say that settled at 3 for one, 3 for the other. No gain,
Car
no change.
3 stop and go penalty. That less than mandatory pit stop time. Car 83 stop and go, less than mandatory pit stop time, 13 seconds, 13 seconds.
So that's announcement. The car 83 was 13 seconds under the mandatory pit stop time. But Steve's still up in the pits. And he's gone to find the driver who led the early parts of the race. He's caught up with Roloff Bruins.
Roloff, you've currently got about a 1.5 second lead. Tell me about the start of the race, first of all.
The start was very good. I mean, he caught it right in the light. Stint was very good. Only halfway through the stint, I got a puncture. So it was really difficult to hold the tire in one piece till the pit window opened, which was quite difficult.
Having watched the first few minutes of this second part of the race, are your hopes high?
Yeah, it should be good. I mean, Manuel's now first, so hopefully he can keep it up till the flag, but it's going to be tight.
Enjoy the rest of the race.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Steve. Good to hear from Roloff Bruins. They're just having such a good season. And Manuel Metzger's sort of been in and out of the car with him, but together they make a formidable pairing. And, of course, they won the first of the 2 races of round 2 at the Chang International Circuit in Thailand. Right now, the lead over Martin Rump down to 1.3 seconds. Quarter of a second gained by the chaser, which isn't music to the ears of the driver who just spoke to us, to Roloff Bruins. He's going to have to sit and wait through the final 18.5 minutes. There is our race leader, 97, the Mercedes from Solite Indigo Racing. Tucked in, not so far behind Martin Rump, 1.3 seconds down, and an almost identical gap back to Yuya Sakamoto, who was for a while second for Hub Auto Corsa, but now Martin Rump is on a charge. First, second and third, Philip Hamprecht not matching them for pace at the moment in the 911. He's 4th overall. This is the car that's leading the championship. Let's see if he can settle into his run and play catch-up. But right now, the fast 3 are Metzger, Rump and Sakamoto. So Mercedes, Audi and Ferrari. Leading Pro-Am car is still the number 8 Porsche from ARN Racing. Yuta Kamimura at the wheel. Leading AM runner, he looks down the timing screen to 14th place overall. Ben Porter, he is leading that, but by only 3 seconds. Keep an eye on that. So the AMAC Motorsport Lamborghini are leading the AM class, and as I said, in GT4, due to the pit stop penalties, success penalties, it's the Craft Bamboo Racing Mercedes leading the way, but David Punn, his advantage 1.1 seconds and coming down. So Narko Chikuchu in the 81 BMW getting closer and closer. Steve's back from the pits to join me, just having a quick slug of water. It's actually, though it was a grey day, getting a bit warmer. And Steve, you talked earlier, just after you came down outside the race, a few specks of rain. Are they still around?
No, they've gone. It looks as if it's going to be dry for the rest of this one, Bruce. So all safe for the front runners. Nothing unexpected that might sort of level the playing field unnecessarily.
This is the car leading, the Mercedes leading the GT4 class, being overtaken very easily by the car in fifth place overall. Rahel Frey, Swiss racer, sweeps past. And David Punn, Jean-Marc Merlin really enjoying their run in here. And this is what happens if your pit stop is slightly not the right amount of time. This is the X-Works. You know, you're going to a stop and he's going to be at a standstill for fully 13 seconds. I suppose if you're wrong, you might as well be really, really, really wrong. They were late in the pit stop. Now we haven't seen so much of the McLaren, even though it's going really well. Here it is, Keita Sawa, 7th place overall, but he's got Yifia Ye in right behind him in the 912, the second of the two Absolute Racing Porsches. And you do feel, looking at their lap times, yeah, the speed, it's a good half a second a lap faster for Ye. 912 homing right in. But Keita Sawa, we're doing a good job. In fact, just taking a little look, I think Sawa in a handful of laps will be able to get onto the tail of Yuta Kamimura in the number 8 Porsche. We can see it here. Number 8 car being very busy. Car 27 and 12 are under investigation for an incident at turn 16. Number 12 is the Absolute Racing Audi. Wear on Tan started it, and Martin Rump is bringing it home. And car 27, of course, is the Hub Autocorsa Ferrari. That was Naoki Yokomizo. So maybe the move that converted second to third and third to second, with Rump in the ascendancy, came with spells on it. We will find out.
Rump's doing a good job. He registered a fastest lap a few moments ago. He's gone a little bit slower just recently, but 8 tenths behind Metzger.
Well, it's the key is it's coming right down. Our lead battle, Metzger and Rump, we can see them very close together. The Mercedes still ahead of the Audi. Yuya Sakamoto hanging on. He's 1.5 seconds further back. A little bit of traffic could close right in all over again. It must be said, this Indigo Racing Mercedes has been right at the front of almost every race, as has the number 12 Audi. The number 12 Audi seems to be a magnet for incidents and problems. And of course, pushing all of them, just showing them what could have been if it hadn't lost a lap with the two spins. Coming up the order, how high is he now? Picariello in the 88 Craft Bamboo car up to 16th place. His next target is way up the track, 15 seconds up the track from him. Could still keep going. Got to get into the top 10 to pick up a point. That is his only target at this point in the race. But under quarter of an hour to go, you'd say that's quite a steep one.
Should give a big thank you to Tanat Satyendirical, who had a few words with us, because he was in quite a bit of pain. Could not get from the car to a seat in the garage under his own steam. Had to be carried there, and really they applied ice and a can of soft drink pretty quickly. He was in a bit of discomfort there.
I hope you didn't do what Murray Walker did once to Nigel Mansell, who had one of the most famous driver injuries, standing on the back of a truck to go to the podium, and clanged his head into a metal gantry, and he's sitting there with a great big glowing bump on his head, and Murray Walker, the inimitable British commentator, went up and said, "Is it that?" and accidentally poked him straight in. It makes me laugh every time.
I'm sure you can find that on YouTube, by the way.
Comedy gold. But Alessio Picariello, all he can do is aim to try and overtake all the front runners. It really would be rubbing in. He's got to gain a lap to be in this battle, really, but he's trying to pick them off and then see where he can go. But at the moment, Picariello for Craft Bamboo Racing, that 88 Mercedes, down in 16th place, but leading the way, the car just in front of him. Manuel Metzger, he's gained 1/10 of a second on Martin Rump, so the battle is going, I think, maybe swinging back the way of the race-leading car. We will see. There's the McLaren, still in 7th place, still catching little by little. In fact, that lap not so much, Yuta Karimamura. In fact, Yuta's fought back.
Jasman Jafar gone quickest there, 1:41.881.
That was a couple of laps ago. He's just a few tenths slower, but he's still gaining ground all the time. He has Jafar. The target was to get into the points. He needs to get into the top 10. He's 11th. He's got to find 7 and a bit seconds, which seems a lot, but he's a good 2.5 seconds a lap faster than Rio Haryanto is in the 10th place Ferrari. So it's coming, but 199, just having a look at that. Joe Chi on his championship debut, he's picked up the car that was given a clonk on the formation lap, and if you take a look, a rear shot, still dragging some bodywork. Possibly a long-term injury. Oh yeah, it's a little bit flapping. I think that's all right. It's not near the wheel arch, and the fact the contact was, well, even before the start of the race, and it's still there now with only 12 minutes remaining. Hopefully that should stay.
I may be understating it, but it looks like it's just a little bit of the livery wobbling about in the wind. I don't think it's anything that we could describe as hardware, so all good, hopefully.
All good, hopefully. I like that riding clause. Very, very wise indeed. Leading car in Pro-Am, still the number 8 ARN Racing Porsche, Yuta Kamimura. 4 and a bit seconds clear in the Pro-Am class. Keita Sawa giving chase, just chipping away in the McLaren, but in fact it seems to settle down between them, so maybe Kamimura can take it all the way to the finish to take class honours. Just scanned out to see who's leading in the GT3 AM class, and it's still Ben Porter, 2.3 seconds clear of the Car Guy Racing entry on its debut in this championship this year. Bright yellowy green Ferrari, giving chase, not yet caught, and it's a bit like Martin Rump. He did very nearly catch the race leader in the 97 Mercedes, leading the way for Solite Indigo Racing, Manuel Metzger. It was down to 0.8 of a second. It's now 1.3. Did I see a little bit of smoke, or was that still water in the curbing there? Did you spot? Well, let's have a look. A rear shot of the race-leading Mercedes. Could be my aging eyes, or eyes feeling as though they're aging, because I'm in a different time zone. Now, don't forget, this is the car that picked up a puncture in the first stint of the race. You heard from Olof Bruins. That explains why his lap pace dropped from the 142s to the 143s, and his lead disappeared. Handed it over. The lead went to the 911 Porsche. That's still running in 4th place overall and making no impression at the moment. So well, podium, almost into the final 10 minutes. We Metzger, Rump and Sakamoto. But let's keep an eye on that race-leading Mercedes. Is it continuing to puff? And Rump hasn't dropped Sakamoto particularly. Last couple of laps have not been so good for Rump. It could be traffic, as you can see, going past another GT4 runner. They lap it, but if you just lose a bit of momentum where you want the power to be going down, you can certainly... In fact, he does respond on that lap, but Sakamoto is starting to close in. So the car behind the number 12 Audi, the Absolute Racing Audi of Martin Rump, is not challenging. That's a lap down. Still trying to get past, though, and that's Alessio Picariello. But the car behind that is Yuya Sakamoto, who's having a really, really strong run. Hub-Auto Corsa have just spread their wings the past couple of years, but also for Yuya Sakamoto, it's a real discovery of form here at Fuji, and it's great to see when drivers just suddenly, sometimes it's a mental thing, just find that little something that just helps them to go forward. And for Yuya, that's... he knows this circuit, he's raced in Super GTs for ages, but he's really, really getting better. Now he's competing in the Blancpain GT World Challenge Asia. Here's, well, the last few laps have not been as good for Keita Sawa. I thought he might catch up to 6th place, take the lead in Pro-Am. Not happening. It's going the other way. Ben Porter, however, is leading the AM class ahead of Takeshi Kimura. That gap was down to 2 and a bit seconds, and just checking what it is this time around, it stays at 2 and a bit, maybe a 1/10 of a second loss. There's the bright yellow Ferrari, yellowy green Ferrari, playing catch up. 8 3/4 minutes remain in this race. Will it be a class win in the AM class for Ben Porter and Andrew McPherson? Certainly McPherson, the pit lane will be hoping so, but Takeshi Kimura going for it. There they are, that's the gap. Oh, it's going to be very tense down in the garage at AMAC Motorsport. And also for Car Guy Racing, and they've got a lot of support, they've got a lot of mechanics here because their base is just outside the circuit fence. But for Ben Porter, who had such a good run in one of the 2 races in Suzuka, he's going to be crossing everything. But look, I mean, you don't have to use a stopwatch. That Ferrari is a-coming.
1 Aussie ahead of 4 Japanese there.
Leading the AM class is still the Craft Bamboo Racing number 77 Mercedes. Really, really good run. Jean-Marc Merlin started, but David Punn making such an impression on his debut. And just look at his cornering angles. He's prepared to attack, so he's got confidence. The team's obviously given him confidence. And if he could make his debut by winning a class and to beat BMW Team Studi on their home patch would be remarkable. Yes, the Team Studi car had to serve time at a standstill. That was 15 extra seconds, and so therefore 10 seconds were gained by this 77 Mercedes, but the gap between the 2 of them on the track, 3.4, well, that's what happens. That's why you have success balance, and it will swing back the other way, because that ballast, the success penalty, will hit whichever of those cars wins today, all the harder for tomorrow.
Look at all of that rubber debris on the track. Off the driver's line there, although as you can see, 13 and one or two others will just drift onto it if needs must.
Well, needs must if you have a GT4 car that's running on the cleanish part. But I tell you what, that looks like the level of rubber you get after, you know, late into a 6-hour race in the World Endurance Championship. We're not yet, well, we're just past 50 minutes.
They've been carved up, haven't they?
Well, we've had a bit of bodywork damage, and that throws a lot out, but it's a busy track this weekend, so there's other stuff out there as well. But certainly the first few laps were a little bit, a little over busy in parts, but I like that. It's incidents and it's racing, and that's why all the drivers are out here. It's not to drive around saying, after you, Claude, or Takeshi.
Yeah, they'll be having a good time out there, not too hot by any means, not one of those hot, humid days where it really takes it out of you. I'm sure some of these drivers, as well as competing and concentrating their focus really sharply on that, will be enjoying themselves as well.
First, second and third. Now, at last, the Hub Auto Corsa Ferrari has got ahead of Alessio Picariello. Picariello in that 88 Mercedes from Craft Bamboo Racing is a lap down, and I think it was a decent thing if he just let it past. Because for Yuya Sakamoto, this would be just a fabulous result. He'd love to be up on the podium on home ground. He's all set to do that. First three cars covered by 2.3 seconds, and I'm really pleased that Ferrari is now in front of that Mercedes. Much as in terms of overall pace, I think if Picariello had got past the number 12 Audi, he'd have then been trying to tackle the race leader. And that is Manuel Metzger. Just to unlap himself, there's no point. No point whatsoever. Points not on offer for a driver down in 16th place. Picariello's shown he's got the speed. We've known he's got the speed, but right now he's let the lead battle, the lead trio, go about their business. Is this a late drive-through penalty for the 128 Vitana Motorsport Lamborghini, or is he driving to the pit lane? Akihiro Asai took over from Chonsavat Asavahami. Has he got a puncture? Let's have a look. No one running out with speed. Yes, they are. Well, no, they're getting the car on its jacks. I didn't see a new set of boots being brought out for that, but clearly it's going to be a wheel change all round. Very useful lollipop. Don't go when your car is suddenly 30 centimetres higher than it was at the start of the race.
Just a reminder.
Now here, in sight, here is the battle in GT4. It's still David Punn leading the way. The 82 BMW is not the one that's chasing, but the car behind, the sister car, the 81 car with Sunako Chikuchu, is. But the gap between this, the Craft Bamboo Racing GT4 class leader, and the chaser from BMW, this is the one he's moved ahead of the teammate now, 81, was the same gap last time around. So the clock is ticking down into the final 5 minutes of the race. You're probably going to have to start scooting up towards Parc Fermé, Steve.
Yes.
But it looks as though David Punn maybe has done enough, but now clear of his teammate, clear of traffic. Sunako Chikuchu, who's got his ears absolutely pinned back, and he's giving his everything because he's desperate to try and pick up a win. Took both of the class wins here 12 months ago, and may yet get it today, but it's with the success penalties, it's something that really swings things backwards and forwards between the top runners in the championship. So thanks, Steve, for joining me in the commentary box. He's going to make his way to Parc Fermé and towards the foot of the podium. I'm going to see if Manuel Metzger can see out this race. 1.4 seconds clear with 4 minutes remaining in this race until the checkered flag can be proffered. Martin Rump giving chase, but just doesn't seem to have the answers. Yuya Sakamoto in third place in Hub Auto Corsa Ferrari is closing on the pair of them. 2.1 seconds from first to third. And all along, Philipp Hamprecht actually losing the pace in the 911 Porsche. It started on pole position, was in the lead when it came round to the pit stops, but just in the second half of the race, not shining too brightly. With this car, it might be rather dull in appearance, with the black, white and red livery, all rather matte, but Manuel Metzger's making it look worth $1 million out there because he's leading. His advantage over Martin Rump's Audi, 1.4 becomes 1.2 seconds. It's coming down, but he's... now is that number 111 Mercedes, third in the GT4 class, going to have a role to play. Doesn't have too many rivals around him, so maybe Setiawan Santoso could just pull over to one side and let the lead battle through down the slope from turn 1, turn 2. There's more traffic up ahead, and in fact I can see the GT Am battle just in sight ahead of them, and that's the battle between Ben Porter hanging on as he's attacked by the car guy racing Ferrari. But let's look at the very front end of the field. Here is Manuel Metzger. I think he's got this one in the bag. Martin Rump will attack as well as he knows how in the Absolute Racing Audi, and Yuya Sakamoto is getting closer again, but the clock is counting down. It's not going to be the friend I'm afraid, of the chasers. It's very much going to be a friend for a driver who's already picked up a first, a second, 2 fifths, a 7th and a 9th. Manuel, but he's in the pits. That's Roloff Bruins, who started the season racing under the name MG Choi. We've now decided he's definitely Roloff Bruins all over again. Martin Rump would love to pick up a victory. He's had a really, really good run. You can see a bit of damage to the side of the car. I think it's actually just a little panel that holds the illuminated lights on the side. No, in fact, it's not even that. It's just a little panel further down. He's being attacked now by Yuya Sakamoto, but I'm surely he's got this one under control. Surely second place will go to the Audi crew. Best finish for Martin Rump this year has been a 3rd and a 4th, and along with Warrington, they've got more pace than that. Just hasn't quite come. Second place will be their best. They'll be frustrated because victory could have come their way in one of the 2 races at Suzuka, but right now I think Rump is safe in second place. He's under a second down on the race leader now. It's come down by 0.3 of a second on that last lap. He is catching Manuel Metzger, but with the lights ablaze, the 97 Mercedes Solite Indigo Racing still out front. It bulked part of the first sector of the race, then had what Bruins thought was a puncture. Now Manuel Metzger trying to get it home. Again, just whizzing down the order. Still Kamimura beating Keitasawa to lead the GT3 Pro-Am class, and it's still Ben Porter ahead of Takeshi Kimura to lead in Am. In GT4, it's still David Punn leading Sanaka Chikuchu, 2 seconds clear now. I think he's got enough to spare. No one, though, is on the tail of the 97 Solite Indigo Racing Mercedes. Yes, Martin Rump is in attendance, but not close enough. Will it be win number 2 for the 2019 campaign? The driver who will be celebrating the most in the pit lane is Roloff Bruins, if it can be pulled off. It's up to his teammate, Manuel Metzger, back for a second crack this year in the 97 Mercedes. He's got to complete the task. He's right on the tail of some back runners. In fact, he didn't quite read the GT4 class leader, went out on the grass on the exit of turn 14, now back on terra firma, back on the black stuff, accelerating over the start finish line. But let's have a look at the checkered flag. Is it going to be waved for him or one more lap? One suggests the flag is out. He should have that waved in his face. Checkered flag. Oh, he timed that very, very well indeed. Just past an hour, he takes victory. Manuel Metzger wins in conjunction with Roloff Bruins. The margin was small, half a second at the end ahead of Martin Rump, but well earned. Good opening. Here comes our Pro-Am class leader, Kamimura, coming home in 6th place, very nearly 5th place, right on the tail of Rahel Frey, but the Audi will stay in 5th. Doesn't matter too much because 6th place is absolutely fine to win the Pro-Am class. So very good run. ARN Racing will be very pleased indeed. Will there be another Japanese class winner? Just looking down the order, will the GT4 battle be sorted? No, it won't, because it has been sorted. It's GT4 victory to David Punn for Craft Bamboo Racing, and Sanako Chikuchu in the end 1.7 seconds back. So we see our finishing runners, but we know the winner is 97. Racing to the finish, this is the Am battle. It boils down to the final sequence of corners, but it's still Ben Porter in front of Car Guy Racing in the Car Guy Racing pits, very close to my commentary position. They'll be getting very, very excited, but I think the Australian duo, Ben Porter and the driver who started it from the grid, Andrew McPherson, could be looking at another win in the Am class. They love their racing. They race all around Asia, and it'd be a very, very popular win indeed in the Am class if it can be pulled off. Final few corners out onto the start finish straight, and for AMAC Motorsport, that is another win in the bag. Enjoying a cracking season, but look how close it was. That is a sign of being under a second, if ever I saw one. The winning margin in GT3 Am class, next to nothing. Just quickly scrolling down the screens, Ben Porter, 0.3 of a second precisely. So many races within the overall race, but for Solide Indigo Racing, it was a brilliant, brilliant run to take their second win of the year for the 88 Craft Bamboo Racing car. Those 2 spins for Jeffrey Lee, neither of his making, left Alessio Picariello, one of the fastest drivers in the race, potentially the fastest driver in the race, to come home down in 16th position, a lap down. And now it looks as busy as when the cars were going to the grid, as 97, the race winner, enters the pit lane and progresses towards Parc Fermé, with Manuel Metzger very much savouring the atmosphere. He's enjoyed his visit to Thailand for round number 2. He's now very much enjoying his visit here for round number 4 to the Fuji Speedway. And of course, the top 3 finishers, they will be punished when it comes to tomorrow's race, because that victory, maximum points hauls the 97 crew, but tomorrow they have to spend 15 seconds extra during their pit stop. And that could be very costly for a race position, as you can imagine. So there's Roelof Bruins waiting to greet Manuel, tall German. Out he comes, very jazzy helmet design. Very happy indeed, and that is very, very useful indeed for the points situation at the top of the table, because Roelof Bruins came here on 71 points, fully 17 points down on Tanart Sathienthirakul and Philip Hamprecht, but that would have given him an opportunity to at least claw some of those back. Points difference between them, with the 911 car finishing in 4th, will change by 13, so the gap's only 4 points now, if my maths serves me right, between 1st and 2nd in the championship. Ferrari, Mercedes and Audi, but in finishing in the order, Mercedes, Audi and Ferrari. 3 makes, 3 very, very well-driven cars, and there's the tall figure of Philip Hamprecht getting his Pirelli winner's hat. And let's go down and join Steve. They were fast on the track. He's gone up to join Roelof Bruins and Manuel Metzger.
Gentlemen, congratulations. First of all, tell me how that last session went. You must be delighted.
Yeah, but it was tough, man. Martin was pushing like hell. I could see him behind. And yeah, I just did the same. I tried to stay in front. The Audi's very good on the straight line and in braking. There he closed in, but in the corners I could pull a gap again, and luckily he didn't come too close for some slipstreaming. So yeah, it was tough, but lucky we made it, and lucky again on P1, and great job by Ricardo pulling off an amazing first stint.
We heard your thoughts about your first part of the race. How does this put you in a position for the rest of the season now? We're at the halfway mark.
Yeah, very good. I mean, I'm speechless. I mean, he did a fantastic job keeping that car in first position and bringing it back. I mean, the championship I can't even think about, because we're taking it round by round, so this is one. Up to the next one. Yeah.
Well done, gentlemen. Enjoy the champagne.
Well, thank you very much, Steve. Let's take a look at the results. We can tell you the winning drivers. We've just spoken to them, Manuel Metzger and Roelof Bruins, who got it started. But fabulous racing today. Victory was only by 0.526 of a second. Let's take a look at the running order at the end. Roelof Bruins and Manuel Metzger, as we said, top for Solite Indigo Racing. Wear on Tan, good starting stint. But Martin Runt, brilliant second stint to take the Absolute Racing Audi into second place. Marco Seefried, welcome to the championship. And Yuya Sakamoto, what a fabulous run from him. 1.4 seconds from first through to third. What a great grid. Top runner in the AM class, again, that was really close. 1.828 seconds was the class advantage. Hiroaki Nagai and Yuta Kamimura, head of Piti Bhirombhakdi and Keita Sawa in their McLaren. And amazingly, across the overall honours, the Pro-Am, the AM and the GT4, that was the biggest advantage, 1.828 seconds. It's super close here at Fuji Speedway. Loads of really, really brilliant racing. And hats off to Ben Porter and Andrew McPherson. Victory in the AM class, but what a run by Car Guy Racing with a really, really close finish as Kimura got right onto the tail, but not past, importantly. And in the GT4 class, honours went to David Punn. Well, how's that for a championship debut? Sharing that with Jean-Marc Merlin, the Craft Bamboo Racing Mercedes, just in front at the end, as Sanako Chikuchu gave chase for BMW Team Studi. Was a winner here twice last year, but today has to accept that success penalty cost them their chance, but it swings around the other way. And for tomorrow's race, of course, the 15 extra seconds at a standstill will go to the Craft Bamboo Racing car that won GT4 here in the first of 2 races at Fuji Speedway. And we had 31 starters, record field for the 2019 Blancpain GT World Challenge Asia field, and we got 27 through to the end of the race. And incident aplenty, spins plenty to review later on. We're looking forward very much to the podium ceremony because I think there's going to be some particularly happy faces up on the steps there, and every single one of them will know it's been incredibly hard earned. It was tough racing out there today from the very run to the first corner. Plenty of place changing, and place changing back the opposite direction by the time they got to about the third turn of the circuit. Stories to tell. The rain stayed away. That could have been another twist in the tail. But the first of the two races here at Fuji Speedway belonging to Manuel Metzger, and the driver who kicked it off, the driver who's closing in on the championship lead, to Roelof Bruins. So congratulations to the pair of them. Now the drivers jockeying for position on the track, as we saw, also jockeying for position around the podium. Got to get their caps on, get their overalls looking tidy, and smiles on their faces. They will all be smiling. They've taken a good haul of points today. Every driver up on the top step of the podium. But as I said, across the overall, the Pro-Am, the Am and the GT4 classes, the biggest gap between first and second was 1.8 seconds. It was all super, super close here for Blancpain GT World Challenge Asia. And the first of our two races at Fuji. The rain stayed away. The only spray is going to be the spray of the champagne very soon indeed up on the podium. I think if we look to the right, we might even be able to see Mount Fuji. Has it poked its head out from under the cloud? It had it out at 7 o'clock in the morning. May not be yet there, but maybe tomorrow? No, the cloud still is winning the battle to keep one of the most revered sites in all of Japan from prying eyes. But when it pops through here, it's a very, very special place to be. And for all the drivers on the top step, well, let's get ready, because here comes what's going to be a very, very happy podium with Steve.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the podium ceremony of Race 1, Blancpain GT World Challenge Asia at Fuji Speedway. We'll start this ceremony with the overall winners. We welcome, please, with your applause, in third place, Yuya Sakamoto and Marco Seefried. And coming second this afternoon, Wiron Tan and Martin Rump. Your winners taking the top step of the podium, Roelof Bruins and Manuel Metzger.
Well, I think a very well-earned round of applause for our winners today. Roelof Bruins, who's leading out, and Manuel Metzger, who brought it home. Don't forget, there was the thought of a puncture for them as well.
Of Pirelli to award the trophies.
So there we have the trophies being presented by Ken Gakita of Pirelli, and great-looking trophies, and all the better because it was really, really tough racing out there today. And I think in a championship as competitive as this, every time you get on the podium, you know you're outscoring those who didn't. I know that seems a simple thing to say, but some of the drivers, including that 88 Craft Bamboo Racing Crew, 0 points for Picariello today after the two clashes for his teammate Jeffrey Lee, neither of which were of his own making.
Founder of SRO to award the checks.
So the founder of the series, CEO of the Stefan Rattel, bringing out the checks. Big smiles around. He should be so proud because this series is really, really going from strength to strength. And look at those faces up on the podium. All tired. That was a tough race. But $10,000 make it all the sweeter, along with the victory points.
Ladies and gentlemen, to take some photographs.
So just to run through there, our top two on the top step as the champagne comes out. Manuel Metzger and Roelof Bruins on the second step in the red and white overalls. Martin Rump and Wiron Tan. And on the right-hand side, really great result there for Hub Auto Corsa. Yuya Sakamoto and his new teammate this weekend, Marco Seefried. Spraying the champagne. They've got to do it all over again tomorrow. Totally jumbled grid because, of course, the driver who set the grid times today is not the driver who set the grid times for tomorrow. And also the driver who set the grid times is the one who starts the race. So a real mix. Will we have rain at Fuji Speedway on Sunday? Time will tell. We may see the top of the volcano. We may not. But if the racing is as good as it is today, then we are in for a real treat. Every single car in the race seems to be having a scrap today. And the class honours were fought right the way to the checkered flag. And just I want to reiterate one more time, we had 4 classes of racing, and the biggest gap between first and second was 1.828 seconds. It was close, it was exciting, it was competitive. Looking to do it all again tomorrow. So come back and join me, Bruce Jones, on Sunday. Let's go back to the podium ceremonies for now, the second of the 4 podium ceremonies.
Podium, Hiroaki Nagai and Yuta Kamimura.
And out to take the honours in the Pro-Am class, ARN Racing going from strength to strength up onto the top step of the podium. The number 8 crew, ARN Racing Porsche, started by Hiroaki Nagai, finished by Yuta Kamimura. And you can see exhalation from the McLaren crew on the left step because Keita Sawa and Piti Bhirombhakti, they'll be proud of that run. There's Keita, big smile all around. He was with a big exhale. Good to see a McLaren in the mix. And third step of the podium, the number 666 crew from Vincenzo Sospiri Racing. We heard from Alex Howe at the start of the race. The rain didn't come, the rain he wanted, but Frederick Schandorf doing another good job in the pair. Third place in the Pro-Am class. And here's the CEO and founder of the SRO Motorsport Group, Stefan Rattel, again handing out the trophies. And there is the winning Blancpain clock for the winning Pro-Am class car. And again, just worth pointing out, we had 3 makes of car for the overall top 3 and also 3 different makes of car. Porsche, McLaren, and on the right-hand step, third place in class, Lamborghini. This is the Pro-Am podium. So they've got to do it all over again tomorrow. Some have remembered to take their trophies with them, and Keita Sawa pretended he had no more champagne left and got a few of them in the eye. So good spirit up there on the podium. The weather's held out. It hasn't turned to rain, and the only dampness is the spray up on the top steps of the podium. We've got the AM class podium and then the GT4 podium to follow. And again, after really competitive racing.
We now move to the podium presentation for the GT3 amateur class. Please join me in welcoming our third place finishers, Tomotsu Kondo and Motoharu Sato.
So we have them on the podium. Let's wait for second.
In second place, driving the 777 car, Takeshi Kimura and Yusuke Yamasaki. And your winners, ladies and gentlemen, taking the top step of the podium, Andrew McPherson and William Ben Porter.
They smile whichever step they're on at the podium, but that's the second class win for AMAC Motorsports. So Andrew McPherson, who's already up onto the top step, and Ben Porter, even more reason for a big smile. Every time he's up there, doesn't matter if he's first, second or third, Andrew McPherson prepares for the champagne spray. He's not going to be beaten. He's keeping the bubbles down at the side of the bottle. But second place trophy to Car Guy Racing, joining the championship this weekend at their local circuit, just literally a kilometre away from their headquarters. And the 777 Ferrari crew, Busuki Yamasaki and Takeshi Kimura, they'll have enjoyed that. And the third step of the podium.
To take a memory,
possessed by 390, also making their debut in the championship. That is the 390 crew from Success Racing with the Lamborghini.
Before everybody in the vicinity enjoys some champagne.
And the drivers in the Success Racing car just waiting while it was announced there. Motoharu Sato and Tomotsu Kondo. So they've enjoyed their entry into the championship this year, and they've got to do it all over again tomorrow. Spray all round, and then we're going to have more very happy faces, because certainly David Punn, he's arrived in the championship, taken the seat normally filled by Frank Q at Craft Bamboo Racing, and come away with victory in the GT4 class. That's how you go racing.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, with your applause, please, let's welcome our GT4 podium performers. In third place, driving the 111 car, Setiawan Santoso and Ringo Chong. Finishing second this afternoon, Takayuki Kinoshita and Sunako Jukuchu. And your winners in the 77 car, ladies and gentlemen, David Pan and Jean-Marc Merlin.
What a cracking race in GT4. In the end, it came down to next to nothing. But David Pan, on his debut, there he is going onto the top step, took victory in class by the smallest of margins, 1.7 seconds. So the success penalty carried over from the second race in Suzuka cost the BMW team Studi crew, the crew with the jazziest overalls in the whole of global motorsport. But they're still smiling. They'll be on pole tomorrow without the full success penalty. They have 10 seconds extra at the pit stop, but their arch rivals from Craft Bamboo Racing, Jean-Marc Merlin and David Pan, the newcomer, they'll have to serve an extra 15 seconds. That could turn it all around. And as Stefan Rettel brings out the checks, the crew that finished third, the number 111 Team iRace win, Mercedes, Ringo Chong and Setiwan Santoso, they might fancy their chances as well. Let us see, because they all finished within under 20 seconds from first down to third. So with the success penalties, that may put that 111 crew right in the mix. Can't wait to find out. Final set of podiums, the final set of trophies, the final set of checks, and that just leaves the photo, and then they can grasp the champagne and let rip. Jean-Marc Merlin loves wearing cap, wears a flat cap away from racing, but right now it's the Pirelli winner's cap, and very, very proud indeed. Another win for him for Craft Bamboo Racing. Champagne all around. That completes our podium ceremonies. GT4 as competitive as all the other classes. It may have a different complexion tomorrow. That is the beauty of the two-race format of the Blancpain GT World Challenge Asia. Been fabulous here. I'm Bruce Jones, was helped hugely by Steve Dawson, who went up. But we are going to go and look at the highlights. It seems a long time ago since the start of the race. But the racing was fantastic. Start of the race, Tanat Sati and Thirikul on the left of your screen made a decent start from pole position. Trying to go around the outside at the first corner was the 97 Mercedes from Indigo Racing, already showing its intent. The nose just in front, the red nose, that Mercedes. But then Sati and Thirikul made a mistake, went too deep into the corner, ran wide. That was all the invitation that was required for Roloff Bruins to accept the lead of the race. And in behind them, as that first two got away, there was all sorts of sorting out. And for the 918 Panther AAS motorsport car, for Fuji that was an unusual way to return to the pits. Could only just see under the bonnet, and unfortunately clattered into Wan Bo, half spun the absolute car. Out front though, it was all looking very, very good indeed for Roloff Bruins. Had that advantage just over a second ahead of Tanat Sati and Thirikul. Hub Auto Corsa Ferrari getting closer and closer, being very, very well driven indeed by Marco Seefried, leading the Pro-Am class, the number 8 Porsche from ARN Racing. And that was making very good ground indeed. Hiroaki Nagai enjoying a fantastic opening stint. And there, the first three getting closer and closer, the gap coming down and down. Tanat Sati and Thirikul leading the chase, but for a long time seemed to be making no ground. And then shortly before the pit stop, suddenly gained the lead. He thought the race leader maybe picked up a puncture. GT4, the race action was very, very close. That's not for the lead of the class, that's the midfield of the class, but racing as though everything mattered to the two of them. Going past the debris on the start-finish straight, managed to dodge it that time around. In the pits, it was nervous. There was action at pretty much every corner. The one car that had too much action was the 88 Mercedes, knocked into 2 spins. And after the pit stops, it came out with Alessio Picariello at the wheel. It got right onto the tail of number 12 with Martin Rump at the wheel of the Audi. And was fighting with it, but was a lap down, was a slight distraction. But after those pit stops, it was Manuel Metzger in the lead of the race. Martin Rump got close in the number 12 Audi. And also Yuya Sakamoto had a fabulous run in the Hub Auto Corsa Ferrari. But they would stay in that position all the way to the end of the race. They had to pick their way through traffic, so the gaps went forwards and backwards. That was a scary moment for Manuel Metzger. Wasn't prepared to take his foot off the throttle. Just there, going past the car, leading the GT4 class, the Craft Bamboo Racing Mercedes. David Punt, all tail out, but collected it very well. But first to second, in the end, it came down to just half a second at the end of the race, with Martin Rump closing right in at the finish. But a brilliant job there from Manuel Metzger, delighting his teammate Roloff Bruins with that checkered flag waving. That was the full haul of points, but it was really close. Top 3 covered by under 1.5 seconds. Great racing here at Fuji. We're going to do it all over again tomorrow. Do make sure you join us. From me, Bruce Jones, Steve Dawson and the crew, we can't wait.